What's happening, everybody? Ryan Thomas here, live on the Thomas Take Sports podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, of course, I'm joined by a good buddy of mine of Cover One, the friend over at Cover One, Greg Tompsett. How's it going?
Good, man. Excited. It's a fun time to be a Bills fan.
Oh, it's a great time to be a Bills fan. It's very interesting 2020, safe to say, right, Greg? We've had
Yeah, the Bills being good is just one of the weird things going on.
that's like the only good thing that's happened in 2020 is that the Buffalo Bills are 2-0, and you guys over at Cover One always putting out great content, always putting out great work. So shout out to fellow Lockportian Eric Turner. That's my guy.
That's right.
Aaron Quinn, you guys are doing fantastic. So wanted to start off by diving into this 2-0 start and get your take on some of the likes and dislikes that you have seen through these first 2 weeks. They were 2 wins. We are 2-0, so we're very happy and fortunate about that. But at the same time, I know that you're an analytics guy. You like to check the tape. And I want to get your take on what you've liked and what you disliked throughout these first 2 weeks.
So the good news is there's a lot more to like than there is to dislike. So that's a good starting point no matter what. But it's not 100%. There's certainly things. So obviously on the like side, I love the variety in the play calling from Brian Daboll, leaning more into play action, leaning more into pre-snap motion. Some of the analytics-driven pieces that you can tell they're doing their research. They're able to keep up with the trends of what's going on, and that they're not leaning into kind of training wheels for Josh. And that obviously nobody could have projected that. I know we'll get into his stat line and some of his progression more later on, but no one could have predicted the level of steps that he's taken. So when you add in what we're seeing along with the way that they're setting him up, these crossing routes and the ability to kind of trick the defense into where to look. Josh is looking off safeties. He's pump faking. He's utilizing a lot of different pieces to set himself up for success. Then he's making better throws. Then we're having receivers who are getting open, making plays, and being able to move with the ball. We haven't needed a ton of run after catch to this point because he's throwing deeper, but he's at least hitting them in stride and allowing them to do that. So those are some of the things that I like. On the dislike side, and on offense anyways, I'd love to see the running game get a little bit more going. I like it. That I think modern day production and scoring is going to come from passing. So I don't want it to be 50-50, but I also think that it's valuable to have a run game to lean on when you need it. So I wouldn't mind that getting up and running a little bit more. On the defensive side of the ball, I like the defensive line rotation. I like that we're getting 9 guys, playing productive snaps all at once. I can't remember the last time that happened. I love what we've seen from Mario Addison. I love the step forward from Ed Oliver. Obviously, the health of the linebackers is a dislike and concern. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more there this weekend. And then I think the secondary has been okay. So I think that our maybe not up to the elite standards we've had previously, but still pretty good. We're just not used to pretty good.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. Everything you said there was on point. As far as the likes, I think Brian Daboll is using some of these weapons, much to my chagrin. I'm loving the Stephon Diggs edition. He has been fantastic through these first 2 weeks, Greg. I mean, as far as being an elite receiver for this offense, I mean, he is the elite of the elite. That was the one addition that was talked about, obviously, so much this offseason, but we're seeing it play itself out now in terms of Josh Allen needing that wide receiver one and the chemistry between these two guys with no true, I guess, regular offseason and zero preseason. They have been in sync from the jump. And that has been amazing to see. I do hope, though, we did hear today that Zach Moss is out with an injury. So I'm hoping that, the run game kind of picks up the slack somewhere, whether it's Devin Singletary or one of the other running backs on the roster. But to be 2-0, right, and to start the season 2-0, and obviously we can go back to last season and say that there were a lot of games that the Bills won due to their defense, and their defense being one of the elite defenses. But Greg, I got to tell you, these first 2 weeks, I'd say Josh Allen is the majority of the reason why the Bills have won these games. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's shocking to say that, and it's something we're not used to seeing. We're used to games where the defense was the reason and Josh was the contributor. Maybe excluding that Dallas game last year, maybe that was one of the few games where the offense legitimately drove the victory, but it's weird. It's not something we're used to, and it is a more sustainable model in today's NFL. Good quarterback play is more sustainable than defense. And when you heard any analyst talk about regression with defense, much of that has to do with health. The Bills are an outstanding defense when healthy, but you saw last week, if you take two key pieces out at the same time, no defense can really do that. And it's going to be tough to be able to juggle that and figure out how to get that production that you need. So that's what people talk about, whereas quarterback play and a good passing offense is very sustainable week to week. So I'd like both. I'm very greedy. I'd like to have a really good defense and a powerful offense, but if you have to choose, a lot of math shows that you're better off with the offense.
So that goes to my next point and my next question, which is Josh Allen's progress. Obviously, he's taken these massive steps from year 1 to year 2 and that big jump from year 2 to year 3. Statistically, he is the talk of the National Football League right now. You see him on First Take. You see him on all these big shows. He's getting the exposure that he deserves for his performances these last 2 weeks. But what have you noticed as far as Josh Allen's game in checking the tape? What have you noticed about Josh Allen's progress thus far?
So I'll give a quick plug to cover one. Eric has done a ton of really good work. Eric Turner and Nate Geary have done a lot of really nice film breakdowns showing the improvement in mechanics. We've had a lot of different, Tom House is one of the most renowned throwing mechanics experts that are out there, and just showing the work that he's done. You've heard interviews with Jordan Palmer. You've seen some of the different things. He's really refined, keeping his base flexible. Sometimes it's a wider base. Sometimes it's actually shorter, quicker steps and being more flexible, and even not planting his front leg. You've seen some of that where keeping it a little bit more flexible and bouncing back stops him from overstriding and overthrowing or coming up short. So some of those different pieces are really key to be able to improve what was always there. He's always had arm talent. He's always had the capacity for really strong performance and really strong throws. He could just never do it consistently. So you'd have two really good throws, and then the one that was 15 yards off target way over somebody's head. I need to warn people, he's still going to have some of those. He's going to miss sometimes. You saw that 2 weeks ago where, the miss for John Brown, the miss for Dawson Knox in the end zone, coming up short on Cole Beasley on a play that he probably could have scored on. He's never going to be flawless. He's just more consistent now. And he's really drove that in, especially with the touch. That's the biggest thing for me, is that he's not trying to throw every ball through a brick wall. He realizes that sometimes you have to feather it in over the defender. Sometimes you need to drop it in over top to let your receiver run with the ball. You saw 2 of those with Stephon Diggs this past week, and one on that drive where they were coming back to score, where Josh got them down the field. Then we took the penalty and the sack, and all of a sudden we're in second and 24, I think. And he hits Cole Beasley on an awesome crossing route with really good touch and just sets him up perfectly. That's not a pass I think he could have hit last year. It's just not. We've never seen the capacity for him to be able to hit those kind of lofted touch throws, to hit a guy right in stride on a play where they know you're trying to get a chunk of yardage. That is a big boy throw right there.
Yeah, I think that was his best throw of the game, the pass to Cole Beasley. He led Cole Beasley. He kind of, it was more of a drag out pass where Cole Beasley had to run underneath it and get it, but it was just on point, where, his accuracy last year and the year prior, obviously, were always a point of contention for the national media, talking about how his completion percentage wasn't there, and collegiately his completion percentage. Well, now he's at 70%. Completion percentage through the first 2 weeks of the season. So I am just over the moon with his start to this third season and expecting that jump from year 1, year 2, now to year 3. I mean, is he a quarterback that is just only going to get better? It sure looks like it, right?
We need to be realistic that there's going to be, he's not going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns every week.
No,
he's not only going to ascend. He's going to play tougher defenses, honestly, than he's played these first 2 weeks. He's not going to do that against the Ravens, the Titans, the Steelers of the world that have better defenses and can control him more. The key is, instead of having crippling games, maybe now he just has an average game. So it's those kind of things that I think we're still going to see a lot of relative improvement, even if it's not crazy off the wall stats.
Right. Now, moving forward, obviously, from Josh Allen, I want to talk about the offense as a whole because we kind of touched on it from the start. The biggest play of last week's game to me, there was a lot of big plays that Bills offense made. Obviously, the John Brown touchdown, Stephon Diggs made a ton of grabs in that game last week. But rookie wide receiver Gabe Davis, I want your take on Gabe Davis. We haven't talked really in quite some time since draft time. And this guy is pretty unbelievable, right? I mean, the catch that he made last week, it was amazing. I mean, that was fantastic. What is your take on Gabe Davis so far?
I'm really pleased to be wrong on him. I was not excited about that pick. It was not a guy that I was hoping we targeted. I didn't think he had
Right.
the route tree and the nuance that we needed for that role. He's looked great, and I got to tell you that touchdown catch, I was certain it hit the ground watching it live. I knew it was going to get called back. So his ability to dive through the air, full extension, be able to then adjust midair and cradle under the ball at the last minute before he hit the ground, that's some high level stuff. That was really, really impressive.
And in terms of the tight ends, well, Dawson Knox did leave the game with a concussion, and I think he is out this week, right? They did announce that.
Yeah.
What do you expect, looking forward to this matchup with the LA Rams? I definitely think this is the toughest matchup that the Bills have had all season long. I think it goes without saying, with all due respect to the Jets and with all due respect to the Dolphins, the LA Rams are a much better team than the Rams and the Dolphins and the Jets. So, what do you think of this matchup in terms of the Bills' offense and the Rams' defense to start off with? How do you see that playing itself out?
Yeah, you're spot on. I think the Jets are terrible. I actually think the Dolphins are better than people are giving them credit for. People were trying to say that the Bills played like two bottom five teams. That's not correct. The Dolphins are a good team. They showed that last night against the Jaguars.
Right.
Going through the Bills offense and the Rams defense, it's a really top heavy defense. So when you have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL and possibly the best player in the NFL at defensive tackle, that gets a lot of attention. Their next 9 starters are not household names. It's not a lot of high-end guys. It's all scheme. So they actually do a lot of disguise coverages like you see the Bills do. They do a lot where they're moving around different things and are going to try to confuse Josh. And it's going to be a big test to see if he's really taken that step forward. Can he process what he's seeing fast enough to find the open guy? Because guys will get open, but their bet is if they're disguised what they have in the back half and they confuse the quarterback, Aaron Donald will get there before you figure it out. And that's what they bank on. So now, unfortunately, they haven't had other defensive linemen really step up to this point. So teams are able to double team Donald and give themselves enough time. So that's going to be a big key to this game is, one, can Mitch Morris consistently help on Aaron Donald to keep him? Because you cannot single block him. You absolutely cannot. You have to double team him every single play. Can the other guys hold up in one-on-one blocking to not let them, take advantage of the fact that you have to double Donald? And then can Josh figure out the confusing disguise coverages quick enough before Donald can get there to get the ball into, John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Stephon Diggs' hands?
Yeah, Aaron Donald is such a dominant player, and he could go up against the best of the best, and he makes everyone look average at the NFL level. He is a true great in this game right now. And I'm glad you mentioned Aaron Donald because I don't think he's getting talked about enough heading into this matchup. I think the talk right now is Jalen Ramsey versus Stephon Diggs versus Josh Allen, and Josh Allen, as I wrote here, due to the fact that a lot of the media they're talking about it already. Jalen Ramsey threw some hate at Josh Allen when the Bills picked him a couple years back, saying he couldn't believe that the Bills picked him and that it was such a waste of a pick. That guy's not legit. He just said all this stuff. I'm wondering what Jalen Ramsey is thinking now. Do you think that was just, trash talk, or do you think he actually thought Josh Allen was that bad? And I mean, he's got to be looking at it now thinking this guy's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he called him trash, and then he backed it up again when
Yeah.
they played, and then tried to walk it back a little bit after they lost. So it was one of those things where, I think one, just a quick side note, hearing the way that Jalen Ramsey carries himself and talks, doesn't it make you so thankful that we have Tre White as our fantastic cornerback? Because on the
I
field, Bills fans will give me a hard time here. Jalen Ramsey's just as good as Tre White. They're right there, neck and neck. I think Tre's a little bit better. I think he's a little better technically. Jalen Ramsey's a better athlete than Tre is. They're both exceptional cornerbacks, and the people who make an argument that Jalen Ramsey's the best corner in the NFL are not crazy. I don't agree, but they're not crazy. They're both top 5 cornerbacks in the NFL. I'm really thankful Tre's our guy and that I don't have to root for Jalen Ramsey because he looks like he's hard to root for. So coming into this game, regardless of the fact that we hate Jalen Ramsey and he's kind of, a cheesy dude, he's good. And he's going to give Stephon Diggs all he can handle to be able to do that. Now, I'm a little excited about John Brown going against some of their other cornerbacks. And, Troy Hill is not an exceptional cornerback. I think he can be beaten. I think that they're decent in the nickel. So Cole Beasley might have a rough day. And their cornerbacks are not great. So a sneaky game maybe from Gabe Davis with Dawson Knox being out. I'd love to see a little flash from Tyler Kroft. But somewhere in there, we're going to get some matchups that we can take advantage of. If they put Ramsey on an island against Diggs, he's not going to shut him down. Stephon Diggs is too good of a receiver for that, but Diggs is not going to go 8 for 153 against Jalen Ramsey. He's just not. No one is going to do that, just like no one's going to do that to Tre White. Right. So how they deploy that and what they do with Jalen Ramsey. Is it exclusive on Diggs? Is it a mix of Diggs and Brown? They use him a lot in these disguise coverages. So I'm curious to see how they do that. And the key is going to be, can Diggs and Brown really take advantage when they isolate them on Troy Hill away from Jalen Ramsey? And I hope that Josh doesn't go at Jalen Ramsey at all, because there's no reason to. It's like saying that, hey, I want Josh to run over Aaron Donald just to show that he's tough. No, I don't. I don't want Aaron Donald anywhere near Josh Allen. And would it be cool if Josh and Stephon Diggs toasted Jalen Ramsey? Yes. But if I had to choose between rolling the dice that that's going to happen with the risk that Ramsey could pick him off, or just throwing at Troy Hill all day, I'll just throw at Troy Hill all day.
Right, and you took the words right out of my mouth. It was my next segment here. Tre White over Jalen Ramsey. One guy is the quietest guy in the room, and Tre White. The other guy is the loudest guy in the room, and Jalen Ramsey. And maybe it is better that Jalen Ramsey is over in LA and Tre White is over in Buffalo. It kind of epitomizes the markets that they play in. We just need to focus and stick to our business, and then the Rams try to be the brash sunny side up team. So moving forward, though, we do got some questions. I always like to answer some questions. Taj Fitzgibbons, he says, we need our linebackers back. And we touched on that to start the show. Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, it was so obvious from the jump. With all due respect to Tyrell Dodson and A.J. Klein, the athleticism that Tremaine Edmonds plays within at the middle linebacker position, that wingspan, going sideline to sideline. And then obviously Matt Milano has been a diamond in the rough for this team. Have you heard any word, Greg, as far as when these guys could possibly be back? I know Coach McDermott was talking about that specifically in the press conference, but I didn't catch it.
So both are limited. Obviously, Tremaine Edmonds has had the non-contact jersey on all week. Matt Milano has been in the regular jersey. Both have been limited every single day. Taj just spot on. We absolutely need our linebackers back. From everything that we're hearing, it sounds like Milano is a pretty good chance to go. I always get nervous about hamstrings because it's a really easy re-injury chance. It's a tough injury to know if you're at full health, because you only know if your hamstring is 100% healthy when you sprint all out, like every single bit of your effort, 100%. And that's tough to do when you're not in a game. So when he's going to chase down Cooper Kupp on a crossing route, he's going to find out if his hamstring's all the way back. So I'm a little nervous about that. But if I had to guess right now, we're hearing that Matt Milano's probably going to play. From Tremaine Edmonds' standpoint, we're hearing it's a true game day decision. It is going to be coming right down to game time. I think people are reading into the our friend Sal Capaccio talked about the fact that people are assuming if you have a non-contact jersey on that automatically means you're out. It doesn't. He hurt his shoulder. They don't want any contact with it. That's what a non-contact jersey is. And so, hey, watch out for this guy. Don't bump him and hit him. They're trying to wait until the very last minute to find out, is his shoulder healthy enough to play in a game? My guess is that he doesn't. My guess is that they do give him another week off and then we don't see him back until the Raiders game. But I think there's a better chance. I think there's a lot of people out there assuming that since he wore the non-contact jersey 3 days this week, that means, oh, it's all for show and there's no chance he's going to play. I'm hearing there is a chance. I just don't know that it's a really high chance. Maybe it's 75-25, that it's more likely that he's not going to play, but there is a legit chance that he wakes up on Sunday, feels good. They can maybe put some padding or a harness around it to maybe cushion it a little bit, and that he's going to be able to go. Again, I care more about the long term. I don't want to throw this game. I don't want to lose this game when in a spot that we could have. But if you're telling me that I can have Tremaine Edmunds for the other 13 games of the year and I have to play it safe today, I'll take that.
Right. I agree. At this point in the season, it's week 3. I mean, let's not try to, throw someone out there that's banged up, at this point in the season. And, that next week of preparation for both Dodson and Klein, to play within that linebacker 1 role leading up to game day. I think another extra week of practice for both of those guys will work wonders for them. I actually liked some things that I, saw from both of them. There were some moments, that left a little bit to be desired, but given the situation and Ryan Fitzpatrick's ability to throw the ball over the middle of the field for the last 16 years in the National Football League, I mean, what a career he has had. But yeah, to wrap this up, I definitely have to get your take on this last topic, which would be your score prediction for this week's game. Where do you see this game, ending as far as the score? I think this is going to be a really close one. What do you think?
So I think we see a shootout. Having Milano and maybe Edmonds back gives me a little bit more hope. I made my prediction Wednesday night on our preview show, and I said 38-35. I think it's going to be a real shootout. Both offenses are playing well. I don't think either defense is quite ready yet or fully up to health. If we have Milano or Edmonds, that gives me even a little bit more hope. But I'll stick with my initial projection there. I'm going Bills 38, Rams 35, and maybe even a game-winning field goal from rookie Tyler Bass.
Oh, man, I would love it. That would be great for me for fantasy purposes. As tough as it is to watch Bills games with fantasy implications on the line and your fandom on the line. I got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs as well as Jared Goff this week. So it'll be interesting. I got to start both of those guys. Last but certainly not least, fight pick tomorrow night. I know you're a UFC guy too. Who do you got between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa for the UFC middleweight belt?
So Paulo Costa's a weird athlete that he's so handsome that it's almost intimidating. Like it makes me feel uncomfortable how handsome he is. Like you're just not a fighter is not supposed to look like that. I don't understand. Adesanya is every bit of the spider reincarnated, and it's just like he gets people with those weird angles, and he's just so long and odd. Paulo is, way more your traditional Brazilian fighter. He's actually more of a striker than many of the jiu-jitsu experts and those guys. So I think it's going to be Adesanya. I really think that he's just too skilled, but this is a guy that if Costa gets a clean shot in there, he can put somebody down in one shot. Like it's just, right. He has that kind of power. So I'm going to go with Adesanya, and I think that's the safer bet, but it's not crazy that he could catch him, and he has one punch knockout power.
I can't wait for this fight, Greg. I've been looking forward to this fight for like 2-3 years now. It's finally here. Greg Tompsett, everybody of Cover One, continue the great work, and thank you for joining me once again. We'll get you back on soon. I always look forward to our chats, Greg.
Appreciate it, man. It was a great time.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
That was Greg Tompsett of Cover One joining me on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Always love having Greg on the show. It's always a pleasure chatting with Greg. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. The next episode of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast is 1 hour from now with Kyle Hughes, who'll be joining me to dive deeper into the UFC 253 fight card. cannot wait to have Kyle on. It's been a bit since we have chatted, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Ryan Thomas. It was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care. Go Bills.